This is On Air with JP. All right, on today's show, the Tooth Fairy. Man, oh man, the Tooth Fairy is giving out a ton of money. It's National Tooth Fairy Day. We'll talk about that. My irrational fear might not be so irrational. Got the Nitty Gritty. I really don't understand Chic Fil A, and I don't understand what Chic Fil A is wanting to do. I'll share that with you. And I'm just wondering. That's all coming up on the big show. And today is National Tooth Fairy Day. I remember a tooth fairy would visit me, maybe a quarter, 50-cent piece if it was like a molar. National average this year from the tooth fairy, $5.84. That's up 6% from last year. Man, the tooth fairy needs to take out loans now just to keep up with the cost of $5.84 for a tooth? Man. Yeah, almost makes me want to take my own teeth out. Get a visit from the tooth fairy again. I don't think that'd work right, would it? Do you have an irrational fear? I have an irrational fear, and it's a fear that probably isn't gonna happen, but there are stories where it has happened to people, so again, there is a possibility. It might not be so irrational. Even though this is a story out of Thailand, my irrational fear is that I'm going to get bit by a snake while I'm going to the bathroom. That's what happened in Thailand. Dude sat down. Next thing he knew, felt something bite him. Yeah, a python had slithered through the lines and up into the guy's toilet, bit him. Then what happened to this guy after he felt the excruciating pain? He reached around and grabbed the snake by its neck and beat it to death with a toilet brush. He said he couldn't pull the snake out of the toilet, so he grabbed a toilet brush and basically beat the snake to death with a toilet brush. Okay, so those of you that have a fear that you're like, yeah, I know it's a stupid fear, it's never going to happen to me. It's possible. Your irrational fear is okay. Well, I mean, it's not okay. I don't want to get bit by a snake while I'm going to the bathroom. I mean, the good news is I've got a toilet brush and a plunger, so at least I'll have some sort of a weapon with me. Irrational fears might not be so irrational. Well, not a day goes by where there's not a story on Lainey Wilson somewhere, although she's recognized for being one of the biggest artists in country music right now. Definitely the queen of country music, I think, right now. A lot of people like to talk about her hindquarters. She gets a little irritated with it, I think. It's always a topic of conversation. The new topic is she okay? She's losing a lot of weight. She says, you know what? It's because I'm playing an hour and a half every single night on stage, running up and down stairs, busting my hindquarter. That's why I'm trimming down. She says it's crazy. If you don't have anything better to do than sit around and talk about somebody's weight, it's just weird. True. So there's the latest Lainey Wilson story. Last night was the 17th ACM Honors Show, hosted by Carly Pearce and Jordan Davis. This is an interesting story. Carly said, when I moved to Nashville, I used to go to this certain bar. The bartender's name was Jordan. Later learned that he was a singer too, and he played his first ever writers round. She was there. So that's when they actually met each other, other than at the bar scene. They're now hosting the shows together. So it's kind of cool. Carly talked about it on her social media, and Jordan responded back and says, yeah, it's been a great ride. Honored to get to co-host with you. More honored to call you a friend, Carly. So what an interesting small world, but Nashville is still kind of a small town. And that is the Nitty Gritty. 105 The Hawk is number one for New Country. I'm JP. I don't understand why there is a line 100 cars deep every time I drive past the Chic Fil A. Slight exaggeration on the triple digits, but it baffles me. They make a good sandwich. I don't mind their fries. Their Chick-fil-A sauce is pretty decent. I just don't, it's just amazing to me. Now they want to get into the streaming game. They have plans to hatch their own streaming service, no pun intended. going to be family-friendly shows and like game shows and unscripted content as well. So they're in talks to license and acquire content right now. Chick Fil A. Chick Fil A streaming. Okay, that's more confusing than the line at the Chick Fil A drive-thru, I got to be honest. I'm JP, and I'm just wondering, what was the first movie that you remember seeing in a theater? And I've been reminded that mine might have been Bambi. But the one that always comes to mind is the original Bigfoot from middle 70s. Scared the daylights out of me. I threw a temper tantrum big enough to where my parents forced my brother and sister to take me. They didn't want to. So I was a rotten kid. There's a bunch of people that said Bambi, though, on Facebook. And when I saw that, I'm like, maybe I remember seeing it, but not to the extent that I remember Bigfoot. Like Jenny says Bambi. Carrie says Bambi at the Shelley Theater. Mary Lee was also Bambi. Yeah, so there's a lot of people that said Bambi. Amber says probably The Lion King. Nicole, Jurassic Park. Terry from a while back, either Gone with the Wind or Old Yellow. Annie LaBamba. Randy, Drive-In Theater in Stockton, California for Smokey and the Bambi. Smokey and the Bandit for the win. Aaron, good one. This would have been a great double feature. Fletch and Back to the Future. Fletch is one of my all-time favorites. Tori says the original Batman with Michael Keaton. Let's see here. Brittany, Lion King. Let's see here. Heather, the Apple Dumpling Gang. That was a good one, too. I remember that's a Sunday night Disney movie. Remember that one for sure. So, sound off on Facebook. Who said Goonies? Danny, Goonies in the theater. I just saw Goonies for the first time a handful of months ago. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? So on Facebook, I'm just wondering, what was the first movie you remember seeing in a theater? Thanks for listening, and get the full show with your favorite songs and artists each weekday between 2 and 7 on 105 The Hawk.